testimony until approximately 1:30, at which time we're going to break for lunch for 45 minutes, and then we'll come back and hear the rest of the testimony. Present today are all of the counselors, either here or on their way. I have a paper here. I have one that can be signed in for people who want to speak in favor of. I understand I have a witness list that was provided by the nominee prior to today. That list consists of 3 people. If there's anyone else here who wants to speak in favor of the nominee, I'm going to pass that list around. Witnesses in support of Karen McCarthy are Attorney Vincent Bongiorni of Springfield, Assistant Clerk Magistrate of Springfield, support Danielle Williams, and the Honorable Charles Gross, Associate Justice of the Springfield District Court, who's also in charge of drug court. I was just presented with a list relative to Karen McCarthy's nomination of people testifying in opposition. Is there anyone else who wishes to sign up testifying in opposition? I presume the people that are on this list all signed up personally? Is that correct? So is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? I'll ask at a later time, but for now. Okay. So basically, we have the list. We don't need any further sign-ups. At this time, all the members of the council are present. So I'm going to call this hearing to order relative to the nomination of Karen McCarthy as a member of the Parole Board for a term expiring in September of 2020. At this time, any of the witnesses who are going to testify, please raise your right hand, be sworn. I hereby swear that I will tell the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth as it relates to the matter now in hearing before the court, so help me God. All right, we're going to start the hearing with the testimony of Attorney Vincent Bongiorni of Springfield. Attorney Bongiorni, would you come forward, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vincent Bongiorni. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've been one for 44 years. And I have known Karen McCarthy for probably 35 of those years, and that's why I came here today to support her nomination. I see a lot of my brethren from the criminal defense bar here, and I know they are in opposition to that, but I think it's based primarily on the fact that they hold a view that I do too, that sometimes parole boards are stacked with people in law enforcement. And I think that's probably because the governors, being political animals, sometimes appoint people that they believe the electorate will find satisfactory. I'm here because I know Karen. And Karen is a person that, at least in my experience, has always been willing to listen. And I've had probably in excess of 400 or 500 cases with her over a substantial period of time. And I have met district attorneys and assistant United States attorneys who certainly drink the Kool-Aid and believe only in one way. I think Karen, because she's worked all her life, because she has a family, because she's raised children, has learned to listen and learn to examine things and read between the lines when it comes to things that concerns law enforcement. So I don't have any hesitation to sit before you today and say that I think the governor made a good choice when he nominated Karen, because I believe, even though she does have a background in law enforcement, and I believe me, I understand why that galls some people and why a lot of people believe people on the parole board should also have probably an extensive background in the field of mental health, because a lot of the people who are in our prison system are there because they have mental illnesses that are either not treated or mental illnesses that don't get treated properly, or they self-medicate and they come into contact with law enforcement. My belief is that Karen based on my experiences with her, would be able to understand the difference and act accordingly. I've always found her to be uniformly fair. If I went to Karen and I had a problem with a police report or that I thought was not accurate, or I had a young assistant district attorney that was not seeing the value of a particular case, I knew I could always go to her, tell her why I thought something was appropriate. And one of the things that always impressed me about her is that she always would look at it, would listen to it, examine it. Sometimes we didn't agree with each other, and we had some pretty good battles over the years. But at the end of the day, I knew I was dealing with somebody who actually looked at what I was showing her, listened to it, and was prepared to be fair and objective about it. And that's why I'm here today to support her nomination.
Thank you. Just also, I forgot to mention, due to the number of people who are here and want to have their say, my pastor is able to give a sermon in 5 minutes that has just as much in it as anything that's said by somebody in 25 minutes. Given the number of people, the amount of time that people had to wait, in fairness to everybody, I'm going to ask that the people who testify be limited to 5 minutes for what they have to say. I think if you can't say it in 5 minutes, there's no souls that are going to be saved. However, that does not apply to the counselors who can ask as many questions as they want of each witness. Counselor Kennedy.
Thank you. I've been a defense lawyer for 36 years, not quite as long as you, fairly long time.
There are redwood trees in California younger than me.
Yeah, probably me too, but probably just as much girth too. It's not about an individual prosecutor, an individual person. The concern that these folks have is about the overall makeup of the parole board, and it is definitely getting slanted towards law enforcement. We have 2 members in there right now that are from either the Department of Corrections or parole. We have a couple of prosecutors, Chairman Tressler, who just left now. Judge Tressler was a prosecutor. And when you have a makeup like that, the slant, the overall philosophy of the parole board tends to go into a very conservative mode. And we've seen that in the past. My friend John Kivlin was the chair many years ago, who I worked with years and years ago. And I think that's what the real issue here is, the concern that people have here. It's not about this person individually. And how would you address that? And the fact that we're putting another prosecutor, because I circled how many times on a resume it said prosecute and prosecute. It's quite a few times, you know. I was going to address her about those issues. The fact that there's nothing on here but prosecution.
Well, that's true, but it's really, the governor makes a nomination, I presume. So isn't that something that's more a political function as opposed to whether or not this person individually merits?
But that's our call.
Right.
It's also our call in terms of, because we're elected too. It's also our call in terms of, you know, what the makeup of the parole board should be. Don't you think it's time when we have a governor who's putting one prosecutor after another prosecutor after another prosecutor up, that we push back a little?
Listen, I don't oppose the sentiment. I share portions of it. But I'm still here because I believe in Karen, because I've known her for so long and because of my relationship with her. All those things that you said are true. I wish there were mental health professionals on the parole board, people from the defense bar.
So how do I go to these folks, many of whom are my constituents, and talk to them? And how do I talk to the people who sent me probably at least 60 emails from my district, and probably close to that number of phone calls? How do I respond to them that we're putting another prosecutor? And I don't know what.
I'm going to suggest that you ask those people whether or not they know anything about her.
Well, I don't either.
If they know something about her and they have a criticism, then that's valid. But to generalize your criticism, to me, I think, doesn't advance the program.
But it is valid, because once again what we're talking about is the makeup of the parole board, okay? And if you read the statute, it doesn't, with the exception of one forensic psychologist, it talks about what the makeup should be, but doesn't mandate. And if we keep putting prosecutors on, aren't we going against the spirit of the statute?
I don't know that you're going against the spirit of the statute, and I think if people feel strongly about it, perhaps it's time to change the statute so that the legislature forces
Well, that may be
the
true,
parole board to have that makeup.
but that's beyond what we can do.
Right.
What we can do is we can look at the statute as written and talk about the spirit of the statute and what it intended, and look at the overall makeup. Because I'm concerned, I've seen it, I've been here, I'm in my 9th year, not as long as some folks here. And I've seen, as I said, I've been practicing for a long time, and I don't appear before the parole board, at least since I've been on the council, but on a few occasions before that I have. I've seen what happens when we have a parole board that is just slanted off prosecution. I don't know Attorney McCarthy. I spoke to her on the phone and I told her what my concerns were. And I haven't made up my mind, and I'm going to listen to her. But I have to tell you, I have grave concerns about the direction the parole board's going.
I don't disagree, but I'm still here because I know her,
Okay.
and you wouldn't be disappointed in her.
I try to look at numbers. I try to look at parole rates and what they should be in comparison to similar states. And I haven't seen them for a while. We used to get them, don't get them anymore, which I like to get. But the last time I asked for them, when one member was up for reappointment, they didn't produce them. And because of that, I didn't vote for her. I'm all set. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
How many cases have you had in any capacity, either as a supervisor, as an attorney, who's lead counsel, second seat?
Probably close to 400 or 500 over 38 years.
Okay.
Maybe.
And
Could you just
what,
speak up a little louder? I'm not sure everybody hears you.
and what were the degrees of severity of those cases? How serious were the crimes?
Some of them were serious in terms of assault and batteries by means of dangerous weapon against other people where there were injuries. A lot of gun and drug cases over the years handled in the district court.
And did you
Some
have,
domestic.
did you have cases with the nominee when she was the Springfield District Court violation or probation prosecutor?
Yes, I did.
What can you tell us about that time frame? It was October 2000 to September 2011. How did she handle herself in that capacity where she's dealing with folks accused of violating probation? They're usually in a pretty bad spot at that point. Would imagine you've represented clients, who've been in that situation. How did you find the nominee to be in those situations, those types of cases?
My relationship with her was dictated this. If my client had a violation that I was absolutely certain that the Commonwealth would prove very little difficulty, I try to get Karen to accommodate me and try to do the best I could for that individual. If there was a disagreement between us as to whether or not the Commonwealth could prove the violation, oftentimes we went to trial with each other on the violation. Or if I were able to take and show her a piece of evidence that undercut the seriousness of the violation or the violation itself, that's one of the reasons why I'm here, because she was always prepared to listen to me and not just simply be the kind of prosecutor that said, I don't care, we're going forward, either plead to the violation or not. I could talk her out of a position if I had a legitimate basis to do so. She would listen. And I don't know whether that was because we got along well or because she felt I was right. I always thought it was because she felt in the final analysis that I was right. I can remember telling her, look at this police report. Look at the officer who wrote it. You know this guy. This is a formed police report. This furtive movement, all of this stuff, this is just not true. And sometimes, her shoulders would slump. She'd look at it and she'd acknowledge that she did know him. She did know what it was. And we'd resolve a case because she was prepared to listen and she was prepared to read between the lines and understand what was really going on.
Isn't that your experience with all prosecutors?
No, not at all.
I know that. Okay, And were there instances where she would agree to reprobate, same terms and conditions, if you were successful in pointing out those types of
Oh, yeah.
facts?
Absolutely. Sometimes I didn't want it to be reprobated. I wanted to get a guilty and a fine and leave because my clients usually were recidivist criminals.
Have you received any emails or correspondence or calls, or have people approached you about you agreeing to come in, giving your position to testify for the nominee?
No, I ran into some people that I knew today, and they told me they were here in opposition, and I understand that. I've had the same experiences in front of the parole board, where I dealt with individuals who I thought were completely law enforcement oriented, didn't pay any attention to factually what was in front of them. I had a young man that got returned to prison on a second-degree murder conviction, who should never have gone back, and was seriously injured in Cedar Junction as a result. But
How many times have you appeared in front of the parole board?
probably actually appeared in front of them for a full parole hearing, probably 10 or 12 times.
How recently?
The last time was that young man with the second-degree murder. That was probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay, so the parole board, just to be clear, is a board that you've appeared in front of, and you have observed the not nominees, members of the parole board, and how they conducted themselves.
Quite frankly, I didn't like it.
And why is this nominee going to be any different than those people that you didn't like? In that particular
If I could guarantee you, or I could look into the future, I'd be at the racetrack picking winners. I know Karen. I know something about her character. I know her family. I've seen her with her kids. I've dealt with her person to person for a long time. That's what gives me some sense that she would be a good pick. That she'd do the right thing.
And I appreciate your comment about, people who haven't had any direct interaction with the nominee to just blanketly say, don't vote for a person who you have no idea about, other than the fact that they have committed their career to public service in some capacity. I would agree that would be a concerning way to go through life and vote on important issues. So I will continue to have an open mind. I think it says a lot that you are here testifying on behalf of the nominee. Thank you for answering my questions.
Well,
Any other questions? Council Jubenville.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good to see you.
good to see you, Mr. Duke.
Got a few years on me, not many. You look pretty good hanging in there.
Trying.
So what I have learned being on this council is that people have all kinds of opinions about somebody, whether they be a judge or a clerk or whatever. And what I have learned is even those people that I thought were going to be wonderful, when they get the position, they change. I don't know how to figure out who's going to change and who isn't. I don't think there's any way you can do it.
I don't believe there is.
And there's been people I voted against that have turned out to be wonderful judges and appointments. So we're sort of in the opinion game here. And I appreciate your opinion. You have a wonderful reputation. And I certainly value your opinion in this matter. I, like Councilor Kennedy, have received emails, all kinds of emails, phone calls. And with people with their own opinions, but a lot of them don't have any personal interaction with this nominee. But they are troubled by the fact that she's law enforcement. And it's hard to argue with them because since I've been here, we had 4 pardons when Governor Patrick was leaving office in the last 2 months. We haven't had a pardon under Governor Baker. And the perception is, and I told him this, the perception is because when you have law enforcement on the parole board, you don't get a high parole rate and you don't get pardons. And so, to give you an example, what we haven't had since I've been here with Patrick, pulled through the books here, in 1966, under Governor Volpe, a Republican, there were 329 pardons that year. 1 year. Actually, it was 65, I'm sorry. The book was written in 66. So in 1965, there were 329 pardons by a Republican. 5 commutations, and was 1 mental health committee. So we have gone, and that was the norm for many years up until Dukakis and Willie Horton went off the rails. When Governor Patrick fired the parole board for Sinelli, that closed the door to hundreds of people that were second-degree lifers that were all set to block out, and we're still in. So, I've received a lot of calls from people in Western Mass from being from there. And there were about 8 against 2 for. And the consensus I have from those people who aren't here today, they're not testifying, but like you, they have reputations who I respect. And their feeling was, she's not going to parole anybody. So again, in the opinion business, and you're in the opinion business, can you answer that at all? Are you concerned with that at all?
I'm more concerned with the fact that the legislature needs to change mandatory minimum sentences so that there can be more parole. Part of the problem is that prosecuting offices use mandatory. People try to plead down to a lower mandatory minimum, and they take themselves out of parole consideration because now the sentence is 3 to 3 in a day or 5 to 5 in a day, and you're never going to get a parole because what you're going to do is you're going to max out the sentence. So a lot of the reason why there's been changes is, citing statistics from 1966, I think it was 1971 when Department Fox, the first gun bill, was the first mandatory minimum sentence where judges no longer had discretion with what to do. Obviously, you're in charge of who actually gets to pass through this council and attain a judgeship. And like you, I've advocated for judges that I was later disappointed in. And I don't think there's anybody here that probably hasn't had the same experience. But part of this is a legislative fix. And I don't know how we get to do that here in this body.
No, we can't, but we are limited in what we can do. One thing we can do is say no to the governor. Bring us somebody that is not
Somebody else.
Somebody else. Law enforcement picked by governors over the years, in my view, have been a safe haven to go to, so that it's politics. So, in any event, I don't know the lady. I'm going to hear her. I'm going to ask her some questions. I thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come here. I appreciate your opinion on this.
My pleasure to come here on her behalf.
Anyone else? Yes.
First of all, I just want to thank you all for coming, and I apologize for the wait you had. I'm an advocate for having one hearing, and it's the chair that makes the decision. We had a 9 o'clock scheduled, and the chair made it 11 o'clock, and there's no way we're going to have a 2-hour hearing, and we're not going to rush through it, so I hope you understand. First of all, to follow up on my colleague, what he said, it is true. We don't have the authority that people think we do. And as an example, in our office, we have drawers full of names of people who have been paroled by the parole board who are looking for, are requesting pardons. Those are pardon petitions. But guess what? We have no authority to bring them forward. It has to be the governor. The governor hasn't brought one, not one. So I keep asking for them. So I want you to understand how limited our power is. And I have to say, I am so disappointed that you didn't get involved in the people that have been thrown off the board. We had Lee Gottenberg. Anyone knows Lee Gottenberg? Expert in the Commonwealth on parole. He was filling an unexpired term, 6 months, and he was thrown off. we had Lucy Soto Abbey. She knows both sides. She has a family member that's serving a life sentence. In her second term, we got the most touching letter from an inmate, a woman, who she released. And she said, Lucy was tough. She demanded a lot of me. And she released me to be home Thanksgiving with my children. I will never forget her. I'll never let her down. She's changed my life. She was thrown off. And in addition, Lucy is Hispanic. She speaks Spanish. What a plus, huh? We threw her off for someone, a prosecutor, and none of you came. And I'll say her name, Gloria Ann Marone. And I meet with everyone. A lot of you know that. And when I met with her, I said, how did your interview go when you met the governor? Oh, I never met the governor. Did you meet with the lieutenant governor? No. I got a call last August from the legal counsel, Lon Povich and Sharon Casey, asking me, do you want to be on the parole board? And I said, and she said yes. And I want to just give them a little history of why I wish they were here this year. And she said that Sharon Casey and Lon Povich, legal counsel, asked her, would you like to be on the parole board? She said yes. She sent her resume. That's not what I signed up for, what I ran for. That's not public. That's not public. And I want you to know she's been on 3 months and the governor appointed her chair. Now I want to tell you, I want every one of you to help me. I want legislation to be changed so that the governor's council votes for the chair. I can vote for someone or against on the parole board member, but not for the chair. Doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that you'll get involved in that. But I'm not trying to reprimand you, but I'm just telling you how disappointed I am that we had 2 wonderful people, not prosecutors, who care, who know both sides and believe in second chances. So I'm kind of reprimanded you because this is, it. Maybe if you had come, maybe you would have made a difference up here, okay? Because I'm alone, and I was a minority on Gloria Ann, and now she's the chair. So we got good people up here, but you have to tell them. I tried to respond to everybody who called me. It was impossible, but I did call a lot back and did respond. So, I guess what I'm saying to you is that the board is not improving in representing people, and it was true what Councilor Jubenville said. Absolutely, when Governor Patrick threw them all off, which was crazy because they couldn't even have a hearing. You can't have two people in a lifeless hearing. And I've gone to the parole board. I'm the only full-time, and I care about it. And to me, it's the most important, and it's not going in the right direction. And so I'm willing to hear all of you, but I'll tell you, this has been really upsetting to lose these 2 good people, and not one came. So I just want to tell you, I'm glad you're here today, and I'm willing to listen to all of you. And I apologize if I couldn't get back to everyone. I got so many emails and calls, but I really did my best. And when I said to one caller, said to me, what her opinion was, and I said to her, well, why don't you get involved in having the chair be, appointed by the council? Oh, I was only asked to call for that one reason. So you know what? Get involved, stay involved. Not only the parole board, but all of them. Okay? And I'm going to get off my soapbox on that. But I thank you for coming. And I did meet with Karen. I meet with everyone. And I met with her a long time. And what I'm saying is that we're throwing people off and putting prosecutors on.
Well, Lucy
I
Soto
did,
Abbey
and
was part of the district attorney's office.
that's right.
And her brother Richard was a Springfield police officer.
That's right.
Until his retirement.
Exactly.
I know both of them personally.
Exactly. And she does have a member that's serving a life sentence. And we got letters from people who she helped, who she paroled. So that's where I am. And you know what? On December 31st, 3 p.m, Lucy was called in. She was scheduled to be in Chicopee on Wednesday because Tuesday was the New Year's Day holiday, and she was going to preside. She was called in at 3 o'clock, and she was told, Don't go to Chicopee, you're not gonna preside. You're through. Here's your insurance papers. Is that how we treat people who serve? I don't think so. So I'm taking this opportunity to tell you and to vent. Thank you for letting me do that. But there's so much more, and I can't monopolize this. But what you're saying is true, but she knew both sides. She knew both sides. And she grew up in a very dangerous housing project. And she was a victim herself. There's no one who's more passionate. But you know what? Dunkin' Donuts has more respect for the people who serve them than here. So I've said enough, and I appreciate yours, and I will consider everything you've said. Thank you.
very much. Appreciate it.
Excuse me, Sweet Bonjorni. You might recall the fact that the first office you ever had a seat in was my father's.
That's right.
He was a defense lawyer,
He was
50
a
plus
defense
years.
lawyer. A pretty good one at that.
So he taught you pretty good,
Yes, he did.
Mr. Bonjorni. That we can agree.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to see you.
Enjoy the ride back.
Yes, thank you. I'll actually have to take my wife shopping now, so.
I'm sorry to hear
That is
Thank you for
one of the most costly
Do you want
ventures
to
known to me.
No, she
Joanne,
has a
can you give
stainless
him a
steel
break?
one now.
Give him a little break, man. He's on a fixed income now. Our next witness will be the Honorable Charles Gross, Associate Justice of the Springfield District Court, who is also in charge of the drug court that's been established in the city of Springfield, and with whom I served. It's great to see you again, Charles.
Pleasure to see you as well.
All right.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. All right, so,
Could you just move that microphone? 'Cause it's-
Sure.
Everything's being
okay, so it's a pleasure to see you folks again. Those of you who I had the honor and privilege of appearing in front of and gave me the fantastic opportunity that he did to serve my community in the way that I am able. I will be forever grateful to you, and it has changed my life completely. I am here in staunch and earnest support of Attorney McCarthy for the Parole Board. I had the benefit of hearing the questions and concerns that you articulated for Attorney Bonjorni. The reality is that what he said is completely accurate. We all share those concerns. I am, I would say, consider myself to be an extremely progressive person, a person who believes in criminal justice reform, who has seen in my own community, the African American community, and communities of color, the destruction that certain policies have had on those communities. So I am extremely sensitive. I'm sensitive to representation on boards. I'm sensitive to issues of representation on the bench. I'm sensitive to representation of issues within the clerk's offices. And I think there has been a tremendous amount of work that has not been done and that needs to be done. In a very real way, I feel your pain. I am in a position where I welcome new colleagues to the bench, and they don't look like the community that we sit in. And I have the very difficult balance of welcoming and celebrating for an individual who I like, who I have worked with in my career, and for their families, the opportunity, and yet also understanding that the community is still left sometimes lacking. So I do understand, and I mean that in all sincerity. The question is an eternal one. It is not an easy one. It is beyond politics. How do we decide who is a qualified person to make these difficult decisions? And I think that in the past, these decisions were made based on the color of people's skin. So people like me didn't have opportunities. So in the past, these decisions were made on gender. And so women did not have these opportunities. And so in the past, the people who made these decisions were making the decisions in the very way, in some ironic sense, that people now are opposing Attorney McCarthy, just based on the surface. And there's a real irony there. And that's something that you folks have to grapple with. I am not a politician. So I do not necessarily concern myself because I have to make very, very difficult decisions. Trust me when I tell you there are people, and Councilor Hurley knows, that there are people who are always going to be disappointed no matter what decision I make. Everyone comes into my courtroom looking for a particular result. And someone will leave disappointed. And so I have to live with the decisions that I've made, just as you folks. So having said all of that, let me tell you why I am supporting Attorney McCarthy. Professionally, I had the opportunity when I was a criminal defense attorney, like Attorney Bongiorno, to work with her directly. I never found her to be anything but the utmost professional, to have integrity, to be a person who I could rely on and trust in the position that she had. Now, those of you who are attorneys, you know, in the criminal defense realm, we have an adversarial system. She had a job that she had to do. She did that job, and I thought always in fairness and earnestly. I represented extremely difficult people in extremely difficult circumstances in the Superior Court, in the Federal Court, and in District Court. So there were rarely, if ever, situations where we were not dealing with something that was significantly impactful to an individual and to their family. What we relied on as criminal defense attorneys is to have an attorney, DA, that we knew if they had the evidence would let you know, if there was an opportunity for rehabilitation, if there was an opportunity for reconsideration, if there was some opportunity for conversation. Attorney McCarthy was one of those district attorneys, someone who I knew that I could rely on, that I could talk to about. She was not a rigid policy person. So as a human being and as a professional, I enjoyed working with her. Never had an issue. But really, I'm here to talk about the work we do together on the drug court. I think that this is probably germane to the very difficult decisions that you have to make. The drug court is probably a very small but equally important version of what the parole board has to do in the sense of what decisions we make. We are an alternative to incarceration program. So we're dealing with people who they're at the end of their criminal justice journey in some sense. And they either are looking at a significant term in jail or an opportunity in our program. Now, Attorney McCarthy signed up for this as one of our 2 district attorney representatives. And it's not just we pass on an application or we don't. She is intimately involved in our staffing, in structuring programs, in sometimes making recommendations that will go against probation in terms of giving someone another chance if they have violated or have stepped across a particular line. I found her to be someone who is, because of her life experience, extremely sensitive to these very important issues of second and sometimes more chances. I'm a firm believer in that. I would not be here sitting in this seat before you folks right now if I had not gotten a second chance in my life. I did not have a cookie cutter life. I did not have the perfect life. I don't have the perfect family. I don't have the perfect friends. I don't come from a perfect place. And so at the end of the day, I have very little tolerance for people who have rigid, myopic, and false views of the world. If you ever come to my courtroom, you'll see. I'm from Springfield. It's the real deal in Springfield. We're poor. We got a lot of crime. Poverty is terrible. We have high dropout rates. We have high teen pregnancy rates. We have gangs. We've got guns. We've got drugs. We've got violence. And I know you guys have, it's everywhere in the state. It's everywhere in the country. It's everywhere in the world. Springfield is concentrated. It's a primarily a city of color, Latino and African American. Those people there are suffering. They are suffering. So we do very difficult work. It was a long time for us to get this drug court. It probably took a little too long to get it. But once we finally got it, we put a great team together. We're doing fantastic work. And Karen McCarthy is an integral part of that team. She's an integral part. When I looked last night, when I was online and I was looking at what the parole, I mean, of course, I never appeared in front of the parole board, but of course I'm familiar with what the parole board does in general. But I looked at the decisions they have to make. I looked at some of the criteria, and I said to myself, this is almost exactly what we do in the drug court. We get mental health workups. We get a criminal history workup. We have to make these same decisions with clinicians and with defense attorneys on our board and district attorneys and probation officers. We have to make a decision, not only whether or not someone should be in the program, but once in the program, whether or not we should give them a further opportunity if they have had a setback. So with the utmost confidence, I would say, again, acknowledging the difficult decisions and the realistic, legitimate concerns that you've articulated. I share them. I share them. Having said that, though, as a person, I couldn't say that I could be more in support of a person, an individual for an opportunity like this. And I think her experience in the drug court and her willingness to participate in the drug court is an indication that she's not a rigid party line prosecutor. That she's not that type of person. That prosecution is her job. It's what she does for a living. It's not who she is as a person. We all have to make a living. So you have to work. And this is what this lady does for work. It's not who she is as a person. And that's what I found. And that's why I'm here to support.
Judge, I want to thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
I was a police officer for 30 years, police chief, and I've been a lawyer for 25 years.
All right.
But based on my training, education, and experiences as a court and sizing people up, I think you're a great asset to the Springfield community. I'm so glad that you came in today to share your thoughts on it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes. Kennedy.
Judge, first of all, thank you for coming.
Yes.
What you said was well said. But just touching on a couple of points that you made in terms of making a decision based on the surface. And by that, I assume you mean the fact that she's a prosecutor.
Correct.
I have voted for many, many prosecutors in my life. I have voted for, and I consider many prosecutors my friends. And I have voted for many prosecutors, including Chairman Wall, now Judge Wall, and there was a crowd like this hearing as well. It's not about deciding on the surface that someone's a prosecutor. It's about the makeup of the role. And you touched on the fact that the folks that are hurt the most is by criminal justice system.
Sure.
And I absolutely 1,000% agree with that. Without question. And the people that get hurt the most when they're denied parole also.
I surmise.
And one of the problems that you have having a role with primarily made up of law enforcement is there's going to be a tendency, because we're human, and that's our back, lean on the side of not bringing opposed to the reverse, when it's a whole group that's primarily prosecuted. And once again, those are the situations that it's primarily hurt. We all know that we've seen it, there's an institutional bias in the whole criminal justice system, whether it involves initial arrests in the courtrooms and in court.
Yes.
We've done studies on it, and we finally come to at least recognize it. I don't think we've done much to fix it yet.
Not all of us.
But I understand, but I don't think we've done much to fix it yet, but we're starting to.
At least the awareness is important, and it's a
Awareness
positive
is
step in the right direction.
But taking that to the next step in terms of having awareness of that as an issue
Yes.
and trying to fix that, shouldn't we be looking at the parole board in the same way that maybe we should be going in the other direction
Sure.
in terms of who we put on there?
Listen, I'll be candid with you. First of all, the answer to your question is of course. I would be a fool to deny that. I can't stand lawyers who won't give me a straight answer when I ask them a similar question. So I'm not going to be that
I'm not
type of
appearing
witness.
in front of you.
I'm not going to be that type of witness. Of course, the answer is of course. Of course.
Okay,
But
so-
you already knew that
so-
too.
so
that's
I'm
a good-
sitting here.
You're a good lawyer.
I'm sitting here,
Yes.
and I have to make a decision for Attorney McCarthy.
Yes.
And once again, I don't know her,
Yes.
okay? I'm hoping to get to know her a little bit in this process,
Yes.
but I don't.
Yes.
But I'm looking at the makeup of the parole board,
Yes.
and I consider myself a very progressive person.
Yes.
I represent probably one of the most progressive districts in the country. It's Cambridge, Somerville,
Yep.
it's Lynn, and I grew up in a neighborhood that's not that different from Springfield and Everett.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Smaller, but not that different.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to make that decision that goes beyond just Attorney McCarthy.
I do understand that.
You know?
I do. You know what the sad irony is? That people, human beings, sometimes are the casualties
Absolutely.
of the political process. And I respect that. Because, you know, black folks and people of color and poor people have been on the back end of that for a long time. So I completely understand what you're saying. But what I'm here, like Attorney Bongiorni is saying, is if you want to know the person, if there's some place within your process, within your consideration, where you will say to yourselves, hey, you know what? We're here because we're supposed to be making difficult decisions. That's what we're supposed to do. And sometimes our constituents might want something a particular way, and sometimes we vote with our conscience, or we vote in a way that is consistent with what we think, as opposed to what the majority may want. And again, I'm not a politician, but if you want to know about the person, I can tell you about the person. I can tell you about a lady I work with, that I've worked with in adversarial process, and I've worked with collaboratively on giving people second chances, on giving people opportunities. I can talk about that.
The other side of that, when I talk to prosecutors come before us with objections, they talk about how, well, why was it different prosecutor? I try to look at it from the defense side. I try to look at it and do what I thought was right.
Yep.
And then when you see those folks leave the DA's office